Thank you, Chris, for being here. Chris, we're really excited to have you here. I wasn't going to do the thing that I'm about to do until you came here. So I'm so happy that you're finally here because now I can
No. Mute that.
Palantir is profitable, baby.
Listen, it's a little bit of accounting gimmicks, but sure, they're profitable based on accounting.
All right, so let's get into that.
Lambo,
Chris, what were your
one Lambo?
Yes. So, Chris, you were with me on the earnings live stream. What are your raw thoughts now that you had a couple of days to digest it, and as you saw the price action this week?
I mean, they're headed in the right direction, but they're not necessarily in the greatest of shape. What a lot of some people are getting a little ahead of themselves with regards to the bullishness on it. The numbers were not like, oh my God, like rip your face off rally where they were GAAP profitable based on, pure metrics. Like, yeah, they had some accounting things that worked out in their favor, which is good. You want to invest in businesses. The question is now, are they going to be able to keep that up and keep it growing? Yeah, you're GAAP profitable because of some accounting magic, but what about next quarter and the quarter after that and for the year? Are you going to be able to sustain that? The last thing you want to do is go 1 foot forward and saying, oh, we're GAAP profitable. And then next quarter, you're like, oh, well, you know what? We're not GAAP profitable. You don't want to take a step back. So I don't know. I don't know how I should feel about it, but I would just say to a lot of the Uber bulls, just be easy with it. Don't go too crazy. Just be easy with it. And especially the thing that set me a little bit back was that a lot of the other names that are very speculative also rode up at the same time. So you had the Upstarts of the world, the Affirms of the world. When those started riding up also, which are highly speculative names, it gives you a little bit of hey, is this naturally something that's happening to Palantir, or is this just a market-wide thing? Who was I messaging on Twitter? They were asking me about my opinion. And I said, well, you know what? If the other meme stocks hadn't rallied at the same time, I would have believed that this is something more of institutional money getting in the door, but it didn't seem like that. It was a lot of, and the other thing is I looked at Wall Street Bets, Palantir had jumped from one of the bottom stocks to one of the top most mentioned stocks within the 2 days, 3 days after earnings. So those are the kinds of things that you just have to ask yourself, what is driving the price higher today? Is it actual fundamentals? Is it institutional investors? Or is it retail just going a little crazy on everyone's favorite retail name? And remember, Palantir is a very retail heavy,
53%.
Heavy stock. So yeah, I would say this is a good thing. Palantir is headed in the right direction, but don't go crazy with it. Don't be like, okay, from now on, I'm all in on Palantir forever. I saw even on CNBC, there was a couple of guys, they're like, this is a generational opportunity that you don't want to miss. And I'm like, dude, that's like every other stock in the stock market. Everything's a generational opportunity. Just be good with investing, and
yeah,
this is, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, the thing you kind of hit it there is the thing that I think was most surprising with everything. I mean, I wasn't surprised revenue to come down. I wasn't surprised for 1 quarter of GAAP profitability, I will say. The thing that did surprise me was all of 2023 is expected to be GAAP profitable. And I'm with you there. I was kind of like, are you really trying to promise that? Is that because the next thing you know is we come in at 1 cent under, or we come in at flat, or we come in at, 0.01 negative EPS for the year, and we get smacked in the face. It kind of, I don't want to say sets you up for failure, but it's to me, I would sandbag a little bit. You gave yourself 2 years. It's you got 1 quarter, give them a little taste, but don't give them everything. Cause now I think a lot of people are expecting the moon. You see all these people revaluing the stock. It's a buy. It's, people are saying it's going to go to 15 to 20, you see all these re-ratings happening. And like what you guys said, the pendulum, I feel has swung completely to the other direction, where everybody was expecting Palantir to go to 0. And it's kind of I think everyone recognized from a cash flow perspective, we didn't think that was going to happen. We knew that we had $200 million a year kind of coming in from a free cash perspective to go back to the bottom line, because we went from 2.4 last year to 2.6 this year. But I don't think anybody else a lot of people that are bears on the company realize that. But yeah, to overextend and say, oh yeah, full year 23, it's going to be fully profitable from a GAAP perspective. I think
so
maybe they could have held off until 2Q.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on what you're saying, Matt, and officially start the discussion there. So Palantir became profitable essentially on an accounting gimmick. It was not from operations from investing. They actually had a loss there. It was from a step acquisition they did in a joint venture in Palantir Japan. I still don't even know all the full details, but that is what produced the profitability. And then they cleared up some of the SPAC names, and voila, you get $31 million of net income, which led to the GAAP EPS. So here's the question I want to pose to the panel, and I want to start off with you, Grogu. Was this accounting gimmick a fiscally irresponsible thing to do because of Matt's concern of like, what if you don't end up being GAAP profitable and then you have to end up going backwards? Like when Tesla became profitable, it kept going and it kept being profitable. So like this is a big risk. Or do you think management did an accounting gimmick because they know their future growth is going to be strong enough to justify true GAAP profitability, and they wanted to show Wall Street and shareholders that they're turning a corner?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think they know what they're doing and they're going to figure a way out to just show it. And I think the key for them is to be minimally profitable. They don't have to be extremely profitable, just enough to show that, hey, we are profitable. So shouldn't expect like amazing grab profitability. It should be just like enough. So if the estimate's like, it was like by a little bit that they beat it, right? So I think that's what they're going to try to do every time. And even Elon said in early days of Tesla that our goal is to become minimally profitable and have a lot of cash flow and just onboard and then pretty much spend a lot of money in the early stages. And I think that's what they should aim at. Don't go for too much, just enough to just kind of get you by so you can just say you're profitable. And I think in 2023, they will continue to do so. I think they have that planned out. If they don't, then I don't know. I mean, Alex Carp did say 25, they're going to be profitable, but you came out earlier. So what if it doesn't, right? I mean, I wouldn't be too, like Chris said, like you shouldn't be too optimistic or crazy about this profitability stuff, because I think the key is still to be focusing on the growth of the company. Which
why do you think they did the accounting gimmicks then? If they gave themselves till 2025, what was the point of it at the end of the day?
It may have something to do with just a bear market, that maybe nothing is working, so they just thought maybe we'll just do that because we can. At the end of the day, the investment's still investment. If I invest into something and it goes up or down and I take that off the table and I use that as profits, it's still profits at the end of the day because you didn't really lose any money. Unless I'm getting something wrong here, you guys can let me know.
I don't like the word gimmick personally. I mean, I think it's reality, right? GAAP profitability is GAAP profitability. Just like I don't really give a crap about GAAP profitability. I'd rather look at the cash flow statement and look at that, which is why I've been such a huge fan of the organization in the first place, because I know they're making $200 to $400 million in free cash. GAAP profitability, like you take all these one-off tax items and stuff like that, just like the SPACs and stuff being written down. It's like that's not actually hitting the bottom line. Like, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to steal the comment.
No, you're making a good point there. I look at it, I have a portfolio and I have some investments that don't do well. If I'm up 200% and then I take something off the table and I can use that and show the government that I made some money, like, does that mean I'm not profitable anymore? Like, that's the whole point here, right? So it's the money they already had. I don't know what the details are with that Japan Palantir, to be honest. I'm not going to act like I know. But if someone can actually dig into that, like what that is and how that worked and where did that money come from, and if they lost money or gained money on that, I'm not sure how that is. I would love to hear from you guys.
So and I think this is, if you could highlight that message from Jay, Amit, I think he nailed it on the head. Exactly what I was thinking. So they needed to take some of the stink off of their poor guidance. Like a 15% guidance on this company is very poor, considering that literally 2 quarters ago, you were projecting 30% growth for the rest of, I think, the next, like, however many years that they had said, which is really bad. Right. So if you now have to guide for a 15% growth, you better have something ready to counter that stink. So that's what happened. They basically, like, I don't want to call it a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. Okay. They actually had real tangible accounting, like things that went in their favor. Right. But it does feel a little bit disingenuous that they came up with it at this specific time. But that's not to say that other companies don't do that. A lot of companies do it. Don't think that Palantir is unique and they're trying to hide something. They're not. Every company does it. There's companies out there right now that'll mask all sorts of like gains, and then when you really look at it, it's just literally like accounting gains or accounting losses.